Nioh 3 has two different forms for you to play around with, Samurai and Ninja. So, which one is better? And the answer is neither and both. Different enemies have different weaknesses, and usually one form handles them better than the other. Does this then mean you have to swap around constantly? No, not at all. You can stick to one form for, let's say, 95% of the time and be perfectly fine. Just don't let your stubbornness make you smash your head against the wall when a quick swap could solve all of your problems. Personally, I like to go 60-40 between the two. It just feels the most fun to keep mixing up the gameplay. Each samurai weapon has 3 different stances you can use, and I would highly recommend you unlock them as quickly as possible, since they are all powerful in their own special way. But what do they actually do? Well, how you use each stance will depend heavily on your weapon and what skills you have, but here's a general overview. High stance is good against human opponents or situations where you can attack safely. It deals the most damage, it expends a lot of ki, and it absolutely smashes through the enemy's block. Medium stance is great against fodder enemies. It hits reasonably hard and it attacks fast, but the catch is that it doesn't pierce the enemy's block, so use it mostly against enemies you can stun lock just by attacking. Low stance is hypermobile and defensive. Use it mostly when fighting bosses or annoying enemies, as you'll be able to avoid their attacks and keep your ki high while still applying pressure. And speaking of ki, it is a precious resource, and running out of it usually means you're about to eat an enormous amount of damage. So how do you stay topped off? First of all, don't go on the offensive if you're nearly empty. Stay back, avoid the enemy, and let it naturally regenerate. Then, when you're nearly full, that's when you should go back on the attack. But you can also regenerate while fighting, though it does require a bit of practice. After every attack or combo, a white light will start to fill up whatever ki you just spent. If you then use Ki Pulse or change stance once you have that perk, you will instantly regenerate that white bar. The tricky part is that you cannot just Ki Pulse immediately after an attack, as you'll get basically nothing back. You have to wait a moment for that bar to fill up, and doing that while fighting is not easy. So try to Ki Pulse as often as you can, because it really is a core part of the combat, but don't beat yourself up if you mess it up. It does take a lot of practice. Unlike Souls games where blocking is generally worse than dodging, in Nioh 3 it is one of your main defensive tools. With good toughness, you can block even the most brutal attacks without losing much ki. The kind of attacks that feel like they really should have turned you into a pancake. But wait, there's more. If you press block at the exact moment an attack lands, you will get a perfect block, which negates the ki loss and potentially even triggers a bunch of buffs. So if you're struggling to stay alive in the early game, you are probably not blocking enough. While you can absolutely demolish bosses in record time once you know their patterns, until then, I would recommend taking it nice and easy. Don't just blindly charge in and let them kill you over and over again. Take a moment to observe, figure out their attack patterns and how to avoid them. Learn their parry timing and whether specific attacks are even worth the risk. And then, once you have a rough idea of what they do, that's when you should start getting offensive and punishing them whenever they leave themselves open. But even then, take it easy and don't rush it. Nioh 3's bosses are essentially an elaborate dance. Just stick to the rhythm of the fight and you'll do great, but try to go off beat and you are going to get beat. If you're anything like me, you're probably the type of person that hoards thousands of consumables because there might be a really hard boss later on. This is a bad idea in pretty much every game, but especially in Nioh 3. Why? Because quite a few of your consumables come from your spirit cores or ninjutsu abilities, meaning they're effectively infinite and meant to be used frequently. But even the consumables that do deplete are common enough that it can easily burn 24 per boss fight and never really run out. so don't make your life harder than it needs to be. Use all the tools at your disposal. Nioh Free is going to bombard you with loot, so what do you even look for? The good news is that while there are a million different stats, most of them don't matter for your first playthrough. So with weapons, just go for the ones that have the highest damage. With armor, go for the highest defense. And if you find a really good item, you can always boost its level at the blacksmith to keep it relevant throughout most of the game. But much like real life, you'll want to watch out for your weight. As soon as you go over 70%, which is the yellow zone, you're going to start suffering heavy penalties to your ki. So always avoid that, even if it means equipping a slightly worse piece of armor. Trust me on this, a bit of extra defense is not worth the crippling debuffs. But what about all the other loot? Well, early on I would recommend setting a filter that lets you automatically offer items below a certain rarity for extra experience. This will give you a lot of really nice bonus power in the early game. Once that stops being relevant, there is a small checklist you'll want to follow. At the blacksmith, filter for items that have special traits. This is the hammer icon, and disassemble those. Then filter for items that have plus value and soul extract them for that very useful azure soul ore. Once that's done, the rest of your inventory is going to be purely junk. See if you can donate anything to your clan, and if not, just visit your friendly neighborhood merchant and make it their problem. One of Nioh Free's best and worst features is that the world doesn't scale to your level. So if you're having trouble against a boss, a quest, or even a certain zone, just go somewhere else and come back later. A few hours of exploration will give you more stats, more damage, and more armor. So stuff that once looked like an impossible challenge might end up being a complete pushover. Similarly, if you want to give yourself a real challenge, you can always try to push ahead of the curve and just see how far you can get with your skills alone. Either way, you'll definitely want to thoroughly explore each region, as there are tons of cool items to be found all throughout the game. And I'm not just talking about equipment, but permanent upgrades as well. These include new recipes and techniques, extra stats thanks to the Kodama and shrines, extra skill points thanks to the locks, and, perhaps most importantly, increased skill capacity, which gives you access to some incredibly powerful passives. So yeah, definitely snoop around for secrets, as there is a lot of goodies hidden out there. Unlike the Souls series, where you're generally better off specializing into a couple of stats, in Nioh Free you are encouraged to be a jack of all trades. The big reason? You need all sorts of different stats to get the most out of your equipment. But even if you're just looking to beef up your character, increasing your strength won't make you that much better of a fighter. You're better off adding intellect or heart to boost your ki and its regeneration, or increasing your constitution and stamina to make yourself tankier and lighter. The stats also become less effective the more you pour into them, so that's even more incentive to spread the love. And if you ever make a mistake, respeccing is literally free, so there really is no harm in trying stuff out. While they are very easy to ignore and forget, battle scrolls are great. Not only are many of them fun, unique missions, but all of the non-tutorial ones give some great loot as well, including permanent upgrades and unlocks. So if you're ever in a lull during exploration and you're in the mood for an intense boss fight, definitely give the battle scrolls a try. You can also play most of them in co-op if that tickles your fancy, though they are perfectly beatable in solo, even if some of the later ones do get a bit tricky. If you take away just one thing from this guide, let it be this: experiment. Your first playthrough is essentially just a tutorial. The game won't demand optimized builds or perfect play until you're deep into the New Game Plus cycle. And since respeccing your build or changing weapons is both easy and free, you should absolutely try all of them. Poke around the different playstyles, see what you enjoy. You might be surprised by what kind of weapons you end up going with. I certainly was. And there you have it. If you have any questions about the guide or Nioh Free in general, drop them in the comments and I'll do my best to help you out. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, a like and a sub would help me out a lot, and I do hope to see you again soon. Bye bye!